Okay, good afternoon, traders. Excuse me. How are we all going? I hope you can hear me loud and clear. I know it might be a bit of a quieter day today. I think it's a public holiday in Sydney, so there might be a few people that missing in action today, enjoying themselves. Hopefully a bit of sun, nice weather up there. Or down there if you're up in Brisbane. What have we got today? So, just letting see how many people. Okay, we're all up and running. Looks good. So, welcome to Trade Setup in the live stream. It is the 21st, sorry, the 2nd, saying 21st. It's the 2nd of October, so it's the start of a new quarter. It seems like there's been a bit of action today, being the start of a new quarter, and on Friday night with the US, a bit of window dressing. How you going there, Frank? Nice new dog, mate. How are you? So for anyone that's new to Trade Setup, you can see on the screen what you're seeing there now. Top left-hand corner, you can join us on Twitter. We're putting out a few bits and pieces a bit more regularly on Twitter. And there's a few things we started following a fair few people that we think is really worthwhile reading. So we'll start to retweet little bits and pieces we find are very interesting. So just it could help you with the trading anyway. So I think it's worthwhile just linking into us on Twitter. Facebook, the top right-hand corner, which is pretty much just a repeat of Twitter. And the bottom right is probably important too. Subscribe to us at Trade Setup. We've got at TradeSetup.au. You can see the site there where to subscribe to us at. So you subscribe to us there. What you do is get a heads up. You'll get also push notifications from not only the Trade Setup app, but also from YouTube. Just saying when we go live with anything at all. We're going to look to do obviously a few more different talks to different groups, and we may have one we might be looking at soon. So we'll be letting everyone know when we do something new that's not your regular stream on Mondays and Thursdays. Anyway, hope we're having a good day so far. The market's kicked on strong, up 65 I think when I last looked. What I'm going to talk about today is obviously just go over the market, have a look at that. What I wanted to also talk about too is, we've got a couple of stocks we're looking at, and we've got the NWR Communications report that comes out on was it Friday morning? So there's a few that they're following there, and I think it's worth just taking a quick look at those. There's a few that look actually really nice, and they're trending quite nicely, and they look like they've potentially got a lot of room to move on the upside on them. So we'll go through a couple there. I do actually retweet. I push that through. We actually retweet that through Twitter, don't I, on the Friday? So we're just starting to get a bit more involved with them, and things that we think look good, we'll start chatting about them on, particularly on a Monday, just to see what sort of. So what they do, NWR Communications, is actually follow a group of different stocks that they've got. Their clients are theirs, and they just sort of follow up on different news releases that have come through. So they're following things that are looking good. They've got really good potential, and they do the media outlet for them. But what you'll actually see just by finding some potentially good ones there that, once the news flow starts coming out and it's starts getting pushed forward and the story starts picking up, you should see that there's a few of them that are getting quite a bit of action. So it's worthwhile following those. What I also want to touch on today is what we've termed, Davin and myself call it supply-demand dynamics. So what we want to do really is, or what we're trying to aim to do, I know with technical analysts and fundamentalists, there's been pretty much a tradition of being you're one or the other. So, and we've spoken about it before, I guess, in the past. What we want to do is really, we're trying to term it supply-demand dynamics to get away from that stigma. And this is more of the way we view markets. It's not your pure technical analysts, looking at your MA rollovers, the one crosses over the other one, then you buy, and your MACDs and all that sort of stuff. We do use bits and pieces like that for our analysis on the technical charts, but you don't live and die by it. It's really what we are trying to analyze is the supply and demand of the market. We're not trying to analyze anything different. It's just where you expect to see a bit of action. Are we going to see more supply pop up there? Are we going to see more demand at these levels? What levels are going to be important? And it really doesn't have a lot to do with your indicators, your momentum indicators or anything like that. So I think what we'll try and do is, and I think the terminology I've been using in the past might be a bit, occasionally we've got comments that it's a bit over the head, which is fair enough. it gets very technical, and I tend to slip up and use a few of those words. It probably overcomplicate things. So we're trying to term it trying to use the terms that people can understand a lot easier, a lot clearer, and it makes a bit more sense. So that's what we do going forward. So anytime I start to get off track and start to use the terminology that sounds a bit stupid, you go, if you don't understand, just put in the chat, put in a question into the chat, and we'll get that sorted out. All right, that's a bit of a spill, but I'll just get my face up on there now, ready to go. We'll take a look at the markets now. All right, minimize that, and you should have the screen up now. You can all see that clear. There we go. All right. Yeah, so the markets, well, we're up 60 at the moment, so it did kick off quite strong this morning. I honestly didn't expect that. I know that's the end of the quarter, and you've got a bit of window dressing in the US into the end of the quarter on Friday night. Start of the quarter here, it seems to be we've done the opposite, probably given a bit of a kick at the start of the first few days of the quarter. But we'll have a look at the ASX now. It hasn't really changed the overall view, I don't think, on it. It's just, you get a solid day like this, it leaves you sitting there thinking about it. But really, if we just break it down to, well, that's probably a bit too far, isn't it? Just the last few months, you can see it's just a hell of a choppy price action since pretty much the start of June, I'd say. June we got that little push down here, and then we got pop up through that pretty much at the highs from the start of June, and then we've been just really consolidating between those 5650 and say 5800. And it's only maybe recently we've got that lower high in place, and we pushed back down to the lows, retested 5650 again, and we've had this nice strong day today. So you never know, it might be followed the next few days towards the end of the week, rolling over through 5650. I don't know. It is just a nice strong day to have today, which is, I guess it makes sense, being the first trading day of the quarter. So I'm trying to spit out. So it could lead to a bit of mucking around, a bit of window dressing. Like I said, this market could kick up, push up to 5800 again, may even push through. We don't know. What we do know is that the US is still, the S&P made all-time highs again on Friday night. Don't know how they're going to go today, but the trend is still well and truly intact over there. The broader market is going along strong. A bit of rotation back into, technology shares. So anytime there's a bit of a sell-off in those, they find it's a bit of buy on dips. They're still doing the same things over there, so they're still continuing that, I guess you'd call it the action of a positive market. They're still, rinse and repeat, the same sort of things are happening over and over again. So if they just continue along the merry way, they keep taking it up to new highs, the Dow keeps continuing on. It'd be interesting to see how we go, or will we just get stuck in this range, because we seem to be content in this range at the moment on the ASX. No one's willing to buy it up through because we're probably a bunch of pessimists, but that's fair enough. The US has had one of the longest bull markets for a while, probably ever. I can't remember the dates and figures and all that sort of stuff, but a hell of a good bull market. I guess it's from 2008 or 9. I think it started, GFC is 2007 through 2008. Probably started 2009, probably March or April it kicked off. So about 8 years. It's been grinding higher in the US. A few little setbacks along the way, but nothing too significant, just what you'd expect in a bull market. It's still nothing. It doesn't look like it's coming to an end. It's just a sheer fact that it's been going for so long. We're at highs all the time. People are just expecting that to roll over. So whether it's a fact that it runs out of steam, who knows? But we just keep kicking along in this range. I think we're stuck there. Maybe we'll see what happens in the next few days, whether this solid move today can continue on and break through 58. We just get that blast up through 58. The thing is, if it does go on, if it does blast up through there, I'd ideally looking for that higher low, but I think it could be a really good move because it has spent. You got to take note of the time it's spent doing nothing. The time people have probably been getting chopped in. So if it goes up sort of through 58, say, a lot of people would be ready and raring to jump in, and you might have a nice little Christmas rally. We'll see how it goes though. Or we just get that rollover spike through the support, and we finally. I don't think that's going to be directional movement because we've had that one leg down, a lot of consolidation through here. If we get that another spike through the low, I think it'll be short and sweet, and then maybe a pop up as we get value buys starting to step in a bit lower. Let's take a look quickly at the Dow Dow's not at all-time highs, but it's not far off there. You can see that's starting to look quite good. Get to them. Oh, it's only a quick short of some closer time frame. Sorry, that's kicking along all right. That's going well. Where are we? The S&P. You can see that that's. I think it was Friday, unless it did trade. It wasn't an all-time close on Wednesday. Then Thursday was quite a good day, and then Friday kicked on right into the last day. I just find that funny, that sort of stuff. The fund managers window dressing, get themselves their little bonuses. It's always interesting when you see that stuff. FTSE, that's still, I mean, that trend, it's still got that key level at 71. We haven't done anything on a daily basis to warrant, being exceptionally bullish on this one. It's not like the US where it's just grinding higher. This has had that big, pretty much since the start of June as well, since the same time as the ASX. So that's actually interesting in itself. I don't know if anyone remembers the GFC. I think we're just making continued highs. But going into the GFC, I think it was in September 2007. Prior to that, we're just kicking on high. We had that Asian crisis. We had a good sell-off. We rebounded, made all-time highs on our market, the US and the FTSE, the DAX. It seems to be they come into key levels, key resistance levels, all fairly similar stages. The US blasted through. Everyone else backed off, and that was pretty much the start of the GFC. So it looks like the US, being raging bears or the gun-ho sort of market they are, they'll blast through and then retrace it and just have a bit of a pullback where we approached that resistance zone, probably on a daily, and then started backing off from there. And it looked like they were just tentative to get through. Could be a bit of the same action, but it's interesting to see that the FTSE is doing pretty much the same. Since the start of June, it's just started contracting lower. We've been stuck in that range. Let's see if the DAX is. The DAX is a bit different. Start of June, they're approaching those highs from the start of June. They had a good night on Friday as well. So they might be. It'll be interesting to see how they go up there. Whether they just blast through that 12,900, which is the previous highs. You can see through here, or whether they start. We get a couple of down days and we get a lower high, and then we start working our way back down to that 12,000 level. But we'll see. That's about it on those. What we'll do now. So I'll quickly go over what I'm talking about. Any questions just on the markets? Any other overall market before we tick it off onto something else? Hang Seng. Hang Seng's, that's still a bullish market if you go back down to the weekly. And it's on a daily chart. It's in a prime zone. It's been oversold through here. It could just roll over through that 27, say 250, and then have a good correction. Your key level is probably just below 2,700 with this little pullback here. As long as that holds up, it's not broken, the market can do what it wants, and once it starts building high lows again, off we go. Not much to see there. So that's getting up into the highs as well in the Hang Seng, that 2,800 to 28,500, 28,000 to 28,500. There you go. Up at the highs, so it's probably going to find a bit of reaction off that level. It's been bouncing around there. You can see that stochastic's just been hovering overbought for pretty much most of this good part of this year, and the market's just been grinding higher. What was Hang Seng? What was the other one? Nikkei, N225. There we go. See what they're doing. That doesn't look too bad from this perspective. You might get a bit of the extra. See how it's popped up, had a couple of good days. We did the same thing here, took out the highs, and then just sort of grind, and then roll over a bit. A bit of a pullback, build another high low, then off we go again. All right, thanks, Graham. All right. Look at the weeklies. It's coming into that level too, say 21,000. So it's getting up to the all-time highs again on the Nikkei. So there's a few things where we may expect to see a bit of reaction off those, but we'll see. Yeah, true. That's what I think everyone's looking at as well. So I got an incoming call. And it's Davin. I think he's got the day off today. He's probably sitting back on the couch having a bit of a relaxing time. If you listen to this, Dav. All right. Just 1 second, guys. Alrighty. So what I want to just quickly go over now is what I mean by... let's just look at a chart. Let's look at this, for instance. This is premium. When we talk about supply and demand, rather than your technical and analysis, I always have a problem saying that. That's probably one one reason why I want to get away from those words, more across to supply and demand dynamics. I'll probably say it better. But anyway, we've got the what we're looking for. The markets, like anything, I guess, the housing market's a prime one. You know, supply demand. There's probably been a lack of supply, and demand has just been increasing, and price has just been kicking up. I know there's been quite a few, obviously, new buildings going up, and they're just rocketing up. There's been some massive supply there, massive demand there, and that's what's. I think there's quite a, as I understand, quite a bit of backlog of new buildings to be built or new houses to be built. So, yeah, that's a good example of supply and demand and what it can do. What we're trying to, reason why we say that is because we look at areas where we expect to be, there's going to be a bit of supply or there's going to be a bit of demand. So looking at it from that perspective, and this is what we keep talking about. When the market's gone and getting stretched, we say it's stretched when the market's kicked up quite strong, and what we like to think, when the market's gone on strong, say at this instance when it's kicked on strong, say the start of 2015. You got these few candles in here. If you're looking at it at that stage and we didn't have any of this on the right-hand side, you could probably guess there's nothing here that's unknown. I mean, the market's heading higher day after day. It's just grinding higher after sort of being a bit choppy here, have a little spike up, bit of a pullback, and then going on strong. So there's nothing new there. So the reason why we say there's nothing new to people, if anyone looked at a chart, they go, oh, the market's going up. It's pretty obvious from that perspective. So what we'd like to think is that if anyone was going to buy it, you could probably be an educated guess that a lot of people have already bought it if they wanted to. So what's that? What does that mean? Does that mean there's a much more supply left into the market that's sitting on the sidelines ready to come in and push the price higher? So if you happen to buy it, say on this green candle here, the way I'd view it is that, okay, from a supply demand perspective, do we really have enough people to if I'm going to buy it here, I obviously want the price to go up. Am I saying by buying it at that stage, I'm basically saying, yeah, there's more than enough supply on the sidelines. This market's going to the moon, and a lot of people get caught thinking that. So you got to be wary, and this is where we say overbought, oversold. So it's getting a bit overbought up here, or supply is running thin. Like I said, to get prices higher, you have to get someone new. You have to get new people into the market. You have to get people who've been sitting on the sidelines watching it go up without them to get into the market, to want to get into the market. So when you get these little runs up like that, that's eating away a supply all the way up. So you're going from, say, 10% of supply into the market to 20% to 30% in, and then you get to that. This is just all theoretical, obviously, to nearly 100% of the market, or probably 90% in there. So you've got 10% of people who've really got to start giving it a bit of a nudge and really chase the market higher for you to make any profit. But if you flip it over, everyone who's bought it in there, there's going to be a stage where there's going to be a bit of supply on the sell side. Not so much on the buy side, but more sellers. So you've got a lack of supply for buying to buy it and push it up, but what you're doing is increasing the supply of sellers. Does that make sense? When we look at it from your supply-demand type of scenarios. And then, of course, that's when you get the market. You've got to get the people put back on the sidelines, people taking profit, booking some gains, and it just happens time and time again. And then you get to find a base where, if you look at it back from the buying perspective, you've got the market that's pushed up, contracted sideways, just consolidated those highs, pushed up again to new little highs, pulled back, built that high low, and that's where people are happy. Okay, we've had a little bit of a pullback after these few days, so there's more supply buyers starting to come to the market, are happy at that price. Okay, we're willing to buy it up. You had a good strong run up there, so the stronger the run up and the higher the run up, the more work you're thinking to be doing with the sellers, getting out. There's more supply of sellers. The more that people want to close out, the more that they have to close out to get buyers back on the sidelines, ready to put that supply back into the market. Does that make sense? Just what I'm trying to explain from that perspective, rather than looking at it from an indicator-based. The stochastics are saying it's quite a strong move up and it's getting a bit overbought. I use that as like everything to me is a secondary tool. It's not volume, stochastics, the MAs. I'd like to see. I'm looking at price action, because from price action, this chopping and changing, you get to see where it's getting to be fairly clear. Say, for instance, just in here, when the market's pushed down, it's touched 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days, and it had a bit of a pop up off that level. Buyers are starting to come into the market again. Sellers there's probably still a bit of supply of sellers coming in. Bang, they push it back down, And then we got buyers start to take over. So the strength in the buyers pushing it through. So they're starting to win the battle. And then you've got a higher low building. So buyers here, compared to this price, they're stepping in at higher prices. So that's a good little sign, good little heads up. They couldn't get it too far, then we've pulled back again. But buyers, it's come through that level, but they're still higher than the previous sort of set of buying. So that supply is starting to kick in again. And the demand for the price, demand for that PPS premium, for instance, the stock is increasing. It's starting to, whether it's good news, there's some good fundamentals that are really starting to drive it. Whether it's a good news flow at that day, which has actually brought people in who are waiting for that, we don't know. But what we're trying to analyze is where's some good levels, some good prices, where we know that we can see buyers starting to move, starting to take action, starting to soak up those sellers. And that's all we're ever really looking for in our price section of the market. So the way we approach it is, I guess it's not your traditional technical analysis. There we go. I do have problems saying that word for some reason. So it's not your traditional type of technical analysis. So we'd rather look at it from perspective of, has the market gone too hard? Has that supply been soaked up? How many more people are really sitting on the sidelines, willing to buy this at a premium price and expecting the market to continue? Is it enough? And then you start to see some cracks appear. The cracks appear in buying. Okay, the buyers are starting to just go, okay, we're either all in or there's no more buyers willing to buy at those higher prices. They just sit on the sidelines and wait. And then you go, anyone who's in the market, where are they going to start taking profit? What's going to happen? There's such a good supply of sellers out there ready and waiting, and they're going to start to become active and start to get out of the market. Okay, we've got that little correction, that bit of a pullback, which you always expect in the market. The market always goes up, has a pullback to take some steam out of the market, goes up, has a pullback, until you have to analyze it. Is the overall trend that's been kicking up, is it well overpriced? Is this, from a value perspective, is this stock getting a bit overcooked? Say, for example, like the US at the moment. I guess from a fundamental point of view, they're getting a bit overcooked. The problem is funds, all the money coming into the market all the time, it just keeps, there's more and more money to be put into the market. Where else are they going to put it? And that's probably the biggest thing with the US at the moment. They've got nowhere else to put their money, to make some cash, or to get gains, to make them put their money to work, I guess. So, I guess that's short but sweet. I hope that's making a bit of sense, and what I'm going to try to do is obviously hold back on the real technical jargon, and make it a bit easier to understand. I'm just hoping to get the message, I guess, across to everyone a bit easier, so they can understand where we're coming from, the way we like to analyze the market. Like I said, we don't use MAs if it's crossing over, crossing up. We buy on a cross up, we sell when it crosses back down, and you can get chopped to pieces sometimes. We're looking for areas where what we want to see with the price do it. Has it gone too hard? We want to look for areas where we would be happy to buy, and we want to see, hints or proof that other people are thinking the same thing. Because if we're all on the same side of the market, then that's ultimately what you're doing. You're just looking for the setup after that. Alrighty. Now, if that's making a bit of sense, what I'm trying to go over there, we'll kick off to, what was the other one? That's not doing too well. Just checking on a few of the stocks, the way they're going. God, anyone that, let me just go to the daily chart. Anyone that said New Farm, we didn't get a chance to short that, but that's still kicking on. That's just taking out that low. So going back to the weekly one, if that's the secondary leg lower, we could have a couple of weeks where it's going to get a good solid push down. You just got to look for, looking left and just seeing what sort of areas where buyers may start to step in. Maybe the whole number at $8, about 30 cents below that. They could start to, to pop in there. We don't know. Otherwise, it's probably, further down towards that 7 mark. So if it does extend through there, I'm just sort of looking at it from the high to low. That's your contraction back up, and then you've got that secondary move lower, taking us somewhere around the 750 mark potentially, before buyers start to see that as a good area to start buying it back up again. And all this, if you go back to the monthly, all it really is a lot of chop through here, consolidation. Buyers start to take control. The market sells off. Buyers start to step in, soaking up that selling supply. There's quite a few buyers on the sidelines ready to go in around that $6 mark. We've had that next move up. So buyers are starting to get a bit stretched there. They're, they're just starting to see it as a bit high to buy there. They'd rather see that pullback. And we got that when we got up to these highs. Probably look for the weekly. Then the sellers started to come back in again because there's quite a bit of supply, like we're saying. And we're probably just looking for that secondary move down for that longer term, correction to come to a place where there's going to be some buyers on the sidelines just ready and raring to go back in again. All right, so that's new fund. That's looking still weak. We've got the other one on the short side we're looking at is FMG, which is, again, that's ticked off. Probably gone a bit harder than what we thought. But in saying that, I'd be looking for a lower high, maybe somewhere around 550, and that's where it broke out from. That's that key level at 550, 540 to 50 through here, the previous high low. We've broken through that, so we've definitely broken that uptrend. So this little push back up to $6 from about 450. That's broken down, so the sellers took control of this price action down. If we can get that little grind high and they start to come back in and force and start to really push the buyers out of the market, then I think obviously the supply of the seller is going to be a bit stronger. It's going to push that market back down. And don't forget, you've got all these people here. That's quite a bit. The market's moved all the way up from pretty much over a year, from low to high. Got to a key level where people are happy to take some money off the table. Any profits that booked quite early of 2016. Got that original push down. We could have a secondary, but we'll just see. Or it could just chop around through here. And when you find that buyers are starting to step in a bit earlier, are happy for that $5 level to be their buying level and see if they can soak up the selling. But only time will tell. What else we got here? Now let's go across to what I was going to talk about before I get too inundated. Just let me take a sip of coffee. All right. Now, that's not what I want to look at. It was that. So this is you can all see that there. So that's the NWR Communications, sorry, if I got that wrong before. NWR Communications, that's their weekly wrap. So they'll be sending that out, just tweeting that or retweeting that, sorry, on the Fridays. I mean, it's worthwhile having a look at. So you've got their little companies they've been following. We've spoken about this live hire before, LVH. They're doing some good things. It was a good chat. We weren't really talking about it from a buying perspective. It was more that great example. That was a really nice example of the two things coming together. Fundamentals and your technical buyers jumping into the market. And it showed some really nice price action, some great opportunities, nice little pullbacks, buying into that trend, a longer term trend higher, sticking with the story, and then people loading up a bit more maybe for whatever reason, and the market just continued higher. So it's a really nice looking chart if you get a chance to look at that again. Flinders, ASX200, I haven't had a good look at that. I think the technicals for me, it's not really not looking that great. I can't remember anyway, but take a look at that on the chart if you want. But there's some news. What they've got is news releases for the week and what's happened if there's anything come out for the week with regards to these stocks that's worth having a bit of a look at. Sincera is another one they've got. The one I like is NTI, that had a good run up and had some good media coverage over, I think it was last week. Don't know which day, but it had a couple of days. So I'm going to have a quick look at that one. They had some results out, so you can just go here. You can click on, and I've probably done that already. You can click on that link and it'll just show you what they've actually done. So it's an easy way just to see what the latest news is saying. So they've had some really good preliminary results from clinical trials you can see in the US. So you can go through and read through that. But that gave the market a really good nudge and it's really kicked it higher. So Red Roo is another one they've got. That is actually looking quite nice. We'll take a look at that. I think they're the ones. And there was another one, or this just here, MEB. I know they've done a bit of a press conference, or they've done a bit of a roadshow to brokers, and that got a bit of buying after that. So that could be one that's going to find some nice support. We'll get a whole new, they've done. So what these companies do when they get out and do a bit of a broker roadshow, they talk up the company. Obviously, if it's not performing well, brokers and analysts will see straight through it anyway. But if they're doing well and they've got some good news flow and some good things happening, then it's something that they'll put on their radar and they'll start to buy it potentially. if it looks good, or if they just a pure fundamental, then they might just buy it on the story with the prospects of, over time it's going to really appreciate in price. Whereas your technical buyers, probably the way I would lean to, I'm looking for my entries off my my charts, basically, see where there's going to be a bit of action, where I see that the market's going to put me in profits sooner rather than later. And I think that's a key with your technical analysis or your supply and demand dynamics. Starting to talk a bit of rubbish. I think the third coffee's getting to me. All right, so there's a few others on here. CSS looking good. N22. Some of these are quite small, but it's worth just having a bit of a squeeze through these, what they've got on the run here. 5G networks, SWJ, 9 Spokes, another one that's been coming up more and more often in the media, and Perseus, we all know that. FZO, was it TTT? That was a new one, I think. That was a new, I think I just recently listed. Titomic. So they had this pumping out some good news releases last week or the week before. So that's doing all right. It's worth just taking a look at the charts on that and reading the story. That's a bit it. So what I'll do is really just go over what I'm saying. Let's go over the dailies. Daily. Now, MEB. We'll start with that one. So if you can you go through if you get a chance, just or if you wanted the link, just email me, shoot through an email to support@tradesetup.com.au, and I'll forward you the link for that, and you can just read through those news. But these are the ones I'm liking because I think they've got some good potential. Just reading through some of that news release and knowing, looking at the price action and just seeing what's happened. I'm discounting what's happening just here. I don't know why, to be honest, but why that type of price action. But then you've come in and it's starting to get a bit more volume coming through. Let's just go to the daily. And you can see the market's pushed down. It's found some buyers. You've got that big rejection through here. So the buyers are happy to buy it back up again into the close. Some sellers coming back in, but then buyers starting to soak it up through here. A bit of that selling pressure. And then they've pushed it back up. So it's always good to see it when it takes out a recent high, which it did at 40. And I think from what I understand, there's been a bit of a seller. A big seller has just been constantly hitting the market for quite a while. A legacy seller, they call it, with quite a bit of stock. And he was just getting out for whatever reason. He or she or the company, whatever. Yeah, maybe not. CSS there, Nandor, but it's worth keeping an eye on to see what happens with the news flow on that. But yeah, this is Medibio. Medibio. There you go, pronunciation's lacking again there. So I've had that kick up through the 40 level. So that was the first sort of signs that, okay, buyers are starting to come in a bit more force. The demand in buying is starting to kick up a bit. And then you've got this little pullback. So the sellers jumped in again. But buyers are stepping in at a bit of a earlier price at around 32, say 31.5, 32 cents, higher than, say, 27, 28, where they previously decided to buy. So that's just showing some more positive signs from the buyers. They're doing a few more things. Does that make sense? So when we look at these high lows, when we talk about it from a high-low perspective, and when you break these lower highs like we've got just here, that's just your strength in buying. So it's showing that there's more strength in buyers coming into the market. They're willing to be a bit more active. They're willing to pay higher prices for something. Like the housing market, no one wants to miss out, so they're willing to pay a higher price. And that's pushing the prices, the overall average price up. Same here. They're willing to pay a higher price because they think it's going to do some good things. So we just want to see what's happening in the price action. For me, I would like to see from here, because there's been a good little run up in buying, there's nothing too strong just yet. We know that story is building. We're probably going to be on the right side of the market now from our analysis because we've got this higher low. Buyers stepping in at higher prices. We just need a little bit more proof that the buyers are really starting to get excited about this and really starting to push it up, potentially up through 50, 51. And what are the highs? Yeah, up through these previous highs from end of last year. So if that's the case, I would like to happy to just sit there and wait just to see if you can build that high low. The usual price action, I'll just draw it up. Oh, I always do that, don't I? There we go, just my usual. Get my little drawing tool. And I'll make it my favourite colours. There we go. So you can see that was your sort of key level. It's broken through 40, second time around. Some nice buys stepping up through that 32. They had a bit of a nibble in here just prior probably a bit heavier in here, and you can see that volume's picking up on this run up, so that's showing you there's been some more buying there. You know, some good sort of buying through here as well, just as it kicked up through 40. All really good signs when you add it together. But from here, what we'd like to see is that push up. We'd like to see a bit of heat come out of the market, but I want to see it come somewhere. It could pull back to 40, whatever, read just below 40. But then I want to see that buying step in again, maybe on increased volume, and then see if we can get that kick up. And then I'll probably be happy to jump in and have a nibble with it to see if we can push up through 52 and just know exactly where my risk is. The other one that I was looking at, and I've actually got myself, to be honest, in all fairness, is NTI. I've had this for a while here. Quite a good thing. And it's more, I took this one more from a fundamental basis. It looked good. New stock. And you tend to get these new stocks online. Just get the best fit. That's everything, isn't it? So that's everything. So it started, yeah, I don't know what price, the list price. It was around that 20 cent mark, 25 cent. Kicked up to 55. It got a little initial euphoria. So anyone who's bought it prior to listing, that's got it in a float, is probably just profit taken there, and you've got the market coming down. It's pushed all the way down. It's built a high low. So this is, I think, only barely, maybe retesting that high low. 15 cents low. It got down to 15.5. So pretty much a double bottom there, you call it. So buyers, it looks like that's a bit of a line in the sand for buyers. They're happy. They were happy. You can see that the last price action before this news was really skint. It wasn't doing too much. No real volume there either. Well, pretty much next to nothing. So there's quite a bit of selling coming out of the market, that selling pressure. There's probably less and less sellers that are willing to jump in to push prices down. So supply's gone. There's probably a lot of people put on the sidelines, so you'd expect that supply of buyers ready to go is well and truly high. Good news report, kicked it up. I just got to remember what they actually said. I know it was maybe, let's skip that one. NTI. Oh, that was just a good news flow. They had some good results anyway, which really kicked that price higher. But what I'm looking for here, it's just popped up through that 30 level. So that's fairly key level where, you know, sellers, it's pushed up. You got that lower high in here. Sellers started coming back in. But like I said, you've got quite a few moves down, which takes a bit of heat out of the market, takes a bit of selling, supply gone, back on the sidelines. No, I bought this well before that. I bought it right back here. So I'm about break even at the moment. So no idea what was going on there, but it's a good question. Good question, Dav. This sort of thing you can see here. This is where people, you know, you can't argue that people don't know what's going to happen. Just chipping away. There's always going to be some insiders in these markets. There's no way around it. Just the nature of how they get the news out there and how they talk their story up. People anticipating, maybe not knowing. Some people probably knowing what's going to happen. And then, you know, the market's gapped up. That little gap up was obviously quite strong. Anyone that maybe had it in here looking for a quick nibble to book some quick gains, that market's come back down again to around that 25 cent mark. But I expect now that story, if it keeps going out the way it is and they have some good news flow, that market keeps kicking higher. And I expect that secondary leg high to take out the highs because it's got some good news, some good results. And that's really supportive of higher prices you'd expect. You just want that secondary wave of buyers that maybe didn't know what's going on, have read the story, are ready and raring to go. It's going to come back in the zone where they're happy to start buying it up and support prices at higher levels. So we'll see how that goes, but I think there's more than enough. Yeah. Yeah. You're making me laugh now. I know you're at home. You're just sitting, laying back, watching the TV. Sorry, guys. I'm having a bit of a laugh at Dav there. Now, geez, you always get me thrown. So we do expect this just to start kicking higher, but we'll see. We'll see. I just expect if we can get that higher low and it starts holding around here, you know, buyers start stepping in between 22.5, 25, and you start seeing that. You see some good signs of that. That could be worth a go, and it could be, you know, you might get that good run up as buyers start to take control again, and buyers start to happy with accepting higher prices. Because of the prospects are really increased and the prospects are being proven, then start attacking those highs around 55 and it can kick on strong. I know you're going to get in trouble by the wife, Dave, so get your feet down. All right, where am I? Again. So that's NTI. It's called Neurotech International Limited. So keep an eye on that one too. And the other one was RVR. This is more. I've actually seen this. Oh, let's just go to a weekly. That's everything. That's all the data there, and you can see that's where you get this type of price action through here. You know that there's a fair bit of all the euphoria's gone, the early euphoria, and they're starting to do good things again. So that you start to see, okay, news flow starting to push it up. So people are starting to become a bit more interested again. Initial people have been following the story for a while. That's what produced this good, strong push up. And then it's pulled back. Heat's come out of the market. Sellers have come back in. They got out of it, booked their profits. So there's starting to be more supply on the buy side again. And you can see that through, say, that 10-cent mark. And if we just go to best fit, that's 10 cents through here. And buyers are starting to pick up the game again, push it back up to the highs. And we're just up at that high levels now. So I am expecting, and you can see through here, buyers are buying it at higher prices. They're accepting higher prices. They're happy to buy it at higher prices. Potentially that news flow is really nice, really good. So they're happy to accept those higher prices, but we're coming to that level now where it's previously proven a point where sellers are happy to sell as well. So we could get a bit of reaction up there around that 29 to 30 cent level. So we'll just have to wait and see whether, I mean, personally, I wouldn't want to jump in just now because you've had a couple of good, strong days. And I think I would be buying it in a market where I'm going to run into a bit of selling pressure. So as a buyer, I'd rather buy it when the buyers are, are stepping in at a higher price and starting to prove themselves. So I think that we're going to see a bit of reaction there, but it's definitely longer term. You can look at that that price action there. Nice base through here where the first initial buying wave starting to support price. It's kicked it up. It's had a bit of a pullback. You got buyers stepping in at higher prices here, pushed it back up to that 30 cent mark, 30 cent zone. Another pullback. They stepped in at higher prices again here. So you get that another wave up again. So we're just going to expect if it blasts through here, I think even if it blasts through from just what we've seen, and this just pumps through 30 cents, still it's a hard bet to buy it. For me, even though there's some good fundamentals, you've got to realise that fundamentals aside, you're always going to get people. There's always emotion in the market. There's no way around it. And emotion is when you're sitting on a nice, healthy profit. What do you want to do? And it's the same when you're sitting on losses. What are you going to do? And that's what Dav calls the sweaty palms. When you're sitting and it's coming to an area where you think if it goes through there, it could crash. So you're getting a bit nervous if it's going against you. And it's the same on the flip side. If you're coming into a level where you think there could be quite a bit of action up here, I'm sitting on a healthy profit. What am I going to do? Okay, so how is the bulk of people going to react? Are they going to sell it, book in some gains, or are they just going to hopefully and see if it can go through? And if it pumps through 30, you still need people on the sidelines willing to come in at that higher prices to support it for you, and you'd be right, because you can still have that nice little pullback and then jump out. So we'll see how it goes anyway. Clement, how are you, mate? Did you get that watch list from? Yes. To your first question. Yeah. It doesn't show it on the website. I think it's more because we've been dealing with them, so they're happy for us just to forward on to you. I can do that if you want. I'll send you the link. You should find us if you can get it on Twitter. It was one of the ones I sent out on Twitter on Friday. So have a look on Twitter, and if you can look at our feed, I'm not a master of Twitter. I know you could probably check out our feed there. You'll see it on there as well, where you can go through to the link, or I'll just send you through the email. Actually, if anyone else wants that email, just let me know, guys, and I'll send that as soon as we're done. But it's interesting stuff. I mean, it's one thing you've got to realise they're not. It's hard to say with analysis either they're going to be biased or not. I think all analysts are biased to some extent. But yeah, I just find that what they're showing, I like it because I know a few of the guys there, and they're really good. Good at what they do, and I think they've, you either look at it and use those sort of reports for things like if you can analyze it from your perspective, whatever that may be. I know what mine is. I look at some charts. I like the news flow that's coming through. Some good things are happening. Then, if I'm ready to buy it, I'll buy it. If not, we sit and wait until that news flow, because you never know. Even if they're doing good things, there's been a few stocks we followed in the past that the market's heading south, and you know that they're doing some good things. It's just that there's not enough new buyers to come in, and people who probably have held it for quite a while are sick of waiting, sick of hanging around, sick of seeing their profits evaporate. So the market can still head down, selling pressure come in. You just need that new pool of buyers to start stepping up to the plate and buying it up. So and that's what the news flow tends to do. If it gets out there, it tends to attract some more buyers who start following it and start watching it to support higher prices. But anyway, Clement, just let me know and I'll send it out to you. I'll email it out to you later. All right, probably enough for me. Anything else you want to quickly look at, guys, before we... I've got sidetracked a bit there, haven't I? And how's my lingo? A bit clearer? Dav, can you understand, mate? Who's from... Yeah, what is CSS anyway? What are they? Clean Seas Seafood. I like the chart on them, and I'm just going back to CSS. I do like the chart on them. Let's just... it's just whether or not they've got enough to do. And here's another... Just looking at that, you can see that the buyers have pushed it up. It's had a good... that sell supply is coming to the market and really pushed prices lower. Then buyers, back on the sidelines, ready and raring to go, and they started buying it back up. Pushed through that lower high at 5.5 cents. It's whether or not, you can see the last few days have been quite strong, whether there's enough buyers that are willing to step in around 7 to kick it on higher. We don't know. Don't know what's going to happen. It could just pull back. Some of these people who bought it early might take a quick profit, pull back and willing to buy some more, or... I think it's got to come to a level where people are happy to jump in and feel that it's at a good price, it's at a fair value where they're going to, the chances of them making money are high. But basically, when it kicks up, it's been quite strong like that. I think, look, longer term, chances still could be high if it's a good fundamental story. But you never know how things are going to change. So what you're basically saying is buying it here, I'm willing to take potentially some pressure if something comes out of the blue that's not good for the stock. You can go underwater, but you're sort of giving it, because it's going to be quite a bit of time, you think it's such a good story, but I'm willing to hold it 6 months underwater before it starts performing. But if you let it pull back, you don't spend that time sitting around doing nothing. Does that make sense? Yes, like they've said, there's since it started kicking up, some better volume coming through there. So there's a few players and a few of that supply coming back into the market on the buyers, from the buyers. And you can see that starting to step up to the plate. They're starting to kick it up. It's just whether there's enough to keep pushing it up to 9. And this is one thing from the analysis. I mean, we can say this, that, and the other. We don't know exactly. I mean, no one's ever going to know who's on the sideline, how many people, all that sort of stuff. It's just an educated guess. When you see the market's gone quite high, that's going to soak up some of that supply. And demand from buyers to demanding and to buy it up at higher prices. So that's what we're looking at in our charts. That's what we're looking at from price action. And like I said, we're not your traditional technical analysts. I bet you're sitting there laughing at my pronunciation, Dave. We're not your traditional technical guys. We like to look at things, where there's going to be a bit of action. Is that fair? Good supply demand, more from that perspective. And it has proven for both of us to been pretty good in the past, and it's worked out quite well. And we think our results from using that type of analysis quite good. Anyway, anything you want to take a quick look at, guys, before we potentially call it a day? You got anything there, Nandor, Clement? Is there anything you want to take a quick look at? I know you probably don't know how you're still going with MOD. MOD's looking a bit... I've still got it anyway. This is one I think Clement and I were both chatting about a while ago. Looks like that was good, and I think it was looking good up until about the last, pretty much this month, where it's just headed south. This is Mod Resources Limited, MOD. I was expecting that to kick up, but it's just looking potentially like... I think we found a higher low, but I don't like this the most recent price action. We're coming to state it's holding up here between 6 and 7. This is a price action on Mod. Let's get it to a bigger chart. Daily. That price action's it's had a good push up here, and this is what we're saying about supply demand. Supply, buyers are willing to step up here, buy it in the high prices, they chase it up, they soaked up all that supply, then it's pushed back down, the supply's increased again for buying, it's pushed back up again, you soak it all up, and then it's pushed back down, so a lot of people profit taking, that supply's come back in, and there's some buyers willing to step up. We'll just have to see how it plays out, but it'd be nice if it can hold up a higher low through that 5.5 or 5 mark. It may retest there and bounce back up. We'll just have to see what happens in the next few days. It's in a good zone. I think there's more than enough action here. It's dragged some sellers out of the market. It's put suppliers back there, ready and raring to go back in. That's MOD. Can't think of what else we got here. TOR's getting a bit choppy. That's TAW. We've got that one on one of the alerts. That's looking great from a weekly perspective. You can see that. It's got that nice rounding base here where, we're doing the old traditional. It's exactly what we want to see for a trending market, trending in the upside anyway. A trending market, you've got a push up, supply increase, supply decreases, and then you got that bit of a pullback to wash out some of those buyers out of the market, put them back on the sidelines, increasing that supply again, ready to kick up, and it's done that. And we've gone through that process recently. After this push up, we've gone through that process of washing them back out of the market, putting the supply back on the sidelines, ready and raring to go again. And you can see just recently they started to, happy to buy it at 20 cents rather than wait till it got down to these lows. So the buyers are starting to step up to the plate. Just want to see now is that push up through 26 and take out these highs at say 28.5, 29, and push up through 30. That would be awesome. We'll just see how it goes. The other one, I've got my eye on BNO. Yeah, that's still looking good. Probably not quite as good. It looks like sellers are happy. I want to see it punch through 50. If it can't do that soon, then it'll probably be sellers taking control, buyers just going, let's just wait and see. A high low here, the one sort of level to be careful about. We've got it at 42, 43. I think we've got our exit at 44. I just feel if it can't get through, like you've had this push up, it's washed out a lot of players, put them back on the sidelines. The buyers have pushed it back up again. Can't get through 50. It's pulled back. They're stepping out at higher price, but struggling with this move up here. It's just struggling to push through 50. So sooner or later, these buyers are going to give up and just wait to see it make a deeper correction, wash out more people, have a decent pullback, and then start the process again of moving higher. But we'll see. We'll see. We've also got MGE. That's done. That's looking great. That's kicking on. That's the ETF, isn't it? Yep. Magellan Global Equities Fund. I got it. So that's looking good. I like this chart. Yeah, bang, 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 and it's just had this nice healthy push up. We've had a healthy correction here. Some of the late buyers in here have been put back on the sidelines, just increasing that supply ready to come back into the market. And I think this move up, I'm expecting it to take us to start, grind its way higher, to start testing up towards the highs around 3, even a new push up through $3. We'll see how that one goes. Can't think of what else we got on the radar, but that was about it, was it? CL1. Oh, this one. This is good. I like the last couple of days. We've got this one, CL1. Pretty much we're at break even right now, 347. We got it expecting a better run than this. Popped out through this high, washed out the low here, and it's starting to hold a little higher low, if you can see that, just in here. Saracen. What are the codes for those? Nandor? Is it SAR? Saracen or Saracen? Saracen? Artemis, I don't know. If you can whack up the codes, I'll have a quick look at them then if you like. But this is CR1 looking good. I like to see that. Good healthy move up. And this is nice to see when, but by this price action, some of that supply is coming out of the market. We're getting some profit taken, but it's not going down. The selling pressure is not strong. They're just accepting maybe out of here. And I think buyers are happy to step in at above 330, which is nice to see that. And I think that's going to lead to, if we can just see on the week, it's going to lead to a push up through 4. We'll just have to see how it goes, but it's looking good. So far, so good. Saracen is that the one? Endor Saracen Minerals Holdings, SAR. Oh, there you go. Okay. So we got SAR. We'll start with that then. This one I think has got some work to do before I'd be happy to buy it. And that's purely because you can see a lot of action. It's spent quite a bit of time. We've got, we touched the lows through 2013, started building a high low end of 2014, and then some other high lows through 2015. Pretty much from that mid 2015, it's had a very good strong run up to $1.80. Probably just over a year it took just to get up to those highs, and that was, you can see that's near vertical. So that's obviously soaked up. So there's a little bit of a wrap there. Soaked up a lot of buyers there. Anything that was on the supply side, really soaked them all up. So pretty much you could hesitate to guess that everyone who wanted to be in there is in the market. There's nothing there at this stage through 2016 that is unknown. Everyone knows it's going up. So if you want to buy it, you've jumped in, and we've just soaked them all up until we got to the highs, and then sort of hang around there in a big, everyone sort of looks like everyone's just pretty much jumped back out, bailed. Yeah, that was it. Highs there, $1.80. Bailed at the same time. You've got this push down. What we are starting to see, which is good, is buyers stepping back in, and you can see that's washed out a lot of people. It's put the supply back on the sidelines, ready and raring to go again. And there looks like after this push down to 80 cents, they started buying it back up. So that's a nice, healthy little push up. Nothing to get me just jumping back into the market. All it is a bit of a heads up, okay? The buyers, there's been enough buyers put on the sidelines, ready to go again, and they're starting to take action. They're starting to push it back up to $1.30. Then we've had this little pullback, and they're starting to hold a high low just here at 90 cents. And you can see that. You can see that in stochastics. That pressure down was quite strong. But it didn't really go too far on the downside. It was really holding up around that 90 cents, sorry. And then we got this little run up to $1.50. I think from here, I'd like to see, because that's soaking up. Remember, it's just soaking up the supply. So if we get a nice little pullback and they get put back on the sidelines, that supply is back on the sidelines, ready to go again. But we can hold a higher price. Then we start seeing evidence of buyers stepping back in. I think it could be pretty good. But either way, it just depends what happens. I think it's going to contract a bit lower, push down a bit, and then just see. It just depends how it goes. If buyers start to jump back in, say around that $1.10 mark, maybe $1.20, where they're happy to buy it, where they see it as fair value. But definitely, I think it's coming out the other side. We've had a good move up here, big washout down, putting them all back on the sidelines. Bit of a pop up. Sellers took another go at it, started to push them back, tried to bully the buyers again, down to 90, didn't go too far. So we held that high low. So that's buyers' strength. It's just showing some strength in buying there. They're all stacking up and starting to push it back up. And then we got this push up through that lower high at $1.30. I just think there was, probably just want to see that. I'll draw it up. Is that going to be good? What I'd like to see after these sudden moves down, and you can see that's quite volatile just by the what do you call it, the gradient of the move up. It's not like this. It's actually boom, we got that move up, then bang, straight back down again, rather than easing out of the market. It's been all what am I trying to say? Oh, anyway, it's been an orderly move down. It's not just bang, straight back down. Reaction straight back up to $1.30. Quite a good reaction back up. Even this move up, that's all very similar. It's not like previous price action like that. So the gradient of these moves are a bit different, and that move up there is all a bit different. The dynamics have changed here, and I think these dynamics are still around. Does that make sense? So what I'd be looking for is maybe, we're talking about this move up here. I'd like to see that dynamics change a bit, where the gradient's a bit easier and we can hold a higher price, and I think that would start to lead us to a nice move up. And then that gradient, obviously the buyers to accelerate and buying to accelerate, but I just want to see that where it comes out. It's a bit, for me, it's a nice little heads up that buyers are happy, buyers are winning, buyers are going to take control, and then everyone else, if they've seen the same thing and they haven't got in, we're looking for a nice little entry after that point. If they haven't got in, they get in a bit late. We want to see them chase the market. So there's always people that are prepared for more confirmation. We want to get in before them. We want them to be the ones pushing the market up. that tail end of supply, I guess, to really kick on prices nice and strong, and we're going to be the ones selling to them. Rather than getting caught waiting for someone else to come into the market, some more supply to come into the market to sell to. All right. ARV. Actually, am I on a weekly? I'm on a weekly. Actually, it's a bit, $2 million. $2 million have gone through. That to me doesn't look the greatest, but looking back at that weekly, you know, it's done some things through here. All that heat's come out of the market. It's spent a lot of years, 3-4 years, just doing nothing through, you know, below 20 cents. You know, somewhere around 5 cents, 6 cents. Obviously, that volume started to come back into the market, starting to pick up. Had a bit of a pop up here, push back down. You can see the volume's quite low, and then volume come into the market. So buyers were stepping in, pushing it back up again, and pushed it all the way back up to 27. You see that volume decreasing as we get higher. I think that supply's been used up a bit. Starting to get used up anyway, but just remembering that weekly, it's probably got a lot of room to move on the upside. Yeah, no, good spot, Nando. It had a good little pop up today, didn't it? Old rappy boy, wrapped in wrap. Anyway, ARV. We'll take a look at that in just a tick. ARV. Yeah, I think that supply's getting soaked up a bit. So it's just really what happens from here. Wouldn't be buying it just up here, but I'd rather see that wash out a bit of this price action and start to build again. And ideally, get something like this. And this is what I'd ideally be looking for. This. That's pretty much my ideal setup when it starts to hold. You know, you hold through here and then you're just looking for an entry. You know where your risk is going to be after that market's contracted lower. It's soaking up. It's putting people back on the sidelines. That demand, that supply is increasing. We're just going to see the demand pop up, and away we go. Now, last one, we'll just look at wrap quickly. Wrap, yeah, it popped up today. It's up 5% today. It was up a bit higher, 7.7. So, let's just look at the last 6 months. So for anyone that's following, are you following this, Nando? I just think, I mean, I've had it, I've been in and out of it a few times. I had some underlying stock up here when I thought it was actually looking good. And I really wasn't looking at what the story was. And then it just didn't, something didn't feel right to me. I held on to it and got caught. But this sort of price action, when you see it pop up and then holding a high low in here, I think I bought into it up here somewhere. It popped up, you know, got through the high and then got rejected straight back down again. I thought something to me was a bit fishy. And then sure enough, they come out with some results and then boom, straight back down again. Obviously gap down, and then I think I bought some and made some profit back up with this sort of move back up intraday. Then you can see the market's holding there, pop back up, and it is starting to hold potentially a higher low through here. We just have to see. I think it's got a couple of days of price action to get under its belt. But for me, I would be, it's mainly that high, well, say 10 cent mark. Let's just rub that out. Oh, I've done it again. So through 10 cents, I think that's sort of the key in the moment. If we can come off this high low, we start to see there's still, you know, there's probably quite a bit more sellers or people who are holding it through here that may want to get out, or they may be just holding it hoping. So who knows sort of what sort of supply and demand sort of, I guess, scenarios are going to be. But I think buyers may start to step in, and I want to see it push up through 10. If we can get that kick up through 10, I think we're going to get a good little try to close this gap anyway, and we might see a bit of a pop-up, a good strong move anyway. The story itself, if you're following it, is, to me, it was a bit of with getting a result, just a stuff up, you know, the way they tested it. The problem with that stuff up, it's costed them money, and then it's going to cost money to do that, to redo those tests, even though, so if you look at it purely from the perspective of the results are quite handy. I think what they went through and just decided what was done right and what was done wrong. The ones that were done right, they got some really nice, handy results. It's just the number of them. They need more for testing, obviously. And I think they've come out, once they released all that, you look at the story and go, hang on a sec, the story is looking good. It's just that money that it's taken. They sort of wasted that money on the initial testing, which was done wrong. They got a bit of a rebate from the government, I think, which was good news. And then they said, they've come out and said, we've got more than enough money. This is happening, blah, blah. We've got money to redo those tests. We're going to go through that towards coming the end of the year, I think. And then if they come out with some nice little news that's saying that testing was done right, we've made sure the processes were in place correctly, it was done correctly, and then if they come out with the same results as before, you'd expect this to start kicking back up towards that 30 mark. So I think risk reward for me, it's looking good. Anyway, I'm probably going to have to call it quits there. It's gone over an hour there, hour and 7. So thanks for joining me, guys. Thanks very much. Like I said, if you've got any questions, send through an email to support@tradesetup.com.au. And if you do just want that, Clement, if you want that link, I'll send that through to you now. If anyone else wants that, just email me and I'll reply, and I'll put it in the link there and just push it across to you. Otherwise, you'll be able to find it, like I said, on our Twitter feed somewhere from Friday. Yeah, but thanks for joining me, guys. It was Monday today. We'll be back in on Thursday. Market's holding the highs at 61 at the moment. See what happens the next few days before Thursday when we're back on at 12:30 Thursday. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you then.